What's up, everybody? Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Denise Gonzalez, for those who do not know me. And for those who do, welcome once again to my YouTube channel. Now, today, I usually on Saturdays don't do any shows, but as a request from many people that watch my breaking news episode about Eliezer Molina's arrest, a lot of people have been asking me to bring more awareness and attention to our current governor, Pedro Pierluisi. For those who do not know Pedro Pierluisi and want to know more about the man that's right now our governor in Puerto Rico, well, welcome to my show. And we're going to start from his origins, the stuff that, made him more notorious from when he was our congressman all the way up to who is today, who is he today, which is our governor, and also what has made him have a net worth of $1,075,000 just by being in politics. So, welcome everybody. I see Jose, Justin Taylor, I see Sundown, and JS. Welcome, guys, once again to my YouTube channel. Now, before we start, you know how we do it over here. Please like, subscribe, and hit that bell for notifications so that you don't miss any one of my shows here on Latin Splaining. So, where do we start with Pedro Pierluisi? Well, I don't know if you guys have known. If you are from Puerto Rico, you know that this man right now has been in the public eye for decades. He okay. First, when he graduated from university and he became a lawyer, he represented the government of Peru when they were doing their silver market lawsuit and won for them. I believe it was $134 million. After that, he became the um, Attorney General for Puerto Rico under Pedro Rosselló, the father of Ricardo Rosselló, our ex governor that was disgraced and forced to resign in the summer of 2019 by the public pressure after he left. 4,000 Puerto Ricans die after Hurricane Maria, and it was all just for political and financial gain on top of other things that he did when Shat was unveiled by basically many shows in Puerto Rico, especially for those who are not familiar with it. Show La Comay was the first one that unveiled the nefarious uh, telegram chat that ended up costing Ricardo Rosselló his governorship in 2019. Well, we're going to start from the beginning. And at first, this man in 2008, Pedro Pierluisi became our congressman in Washington, D.C. As many of you guys know, any U.S. territory like Guam, Puerto Rico, and in the past, Hawaii had a congressman or a congresswoman represent us in Washington, D.C. Now we're non voting congressmen. So basically, they're right there as a representative to bring awareness to issues. At least that's their job description, and also advocate and lobby for benefits, for budgets, for situations that might be happening in Puerto Rico. And they're also only granted permission to speak whenever a voting member of Congress allows them to. So he became our congressman in the 2008 elections when Luis Fortuño was our governor. And in 2009, they started. And I want to, something that was very, it's very, makes me very curious about Pedro Pierluisi is that throughout his career, most of the problems that and red flags that this man has is his constant um method of having, you know, a conflict of interests every time he's into politics, because when he's elected, then he will function as a politician, but when he's not elected, he will go back to the private sector and he will make deals that can come off as him sharing governmental classified information. And when he started his political career after becoming the attorney general, and we all know that during his term, a lot of things happened in Puerto Rico when it came to law, legislation, settlements, and whatnot, and also the appointing of different judges. It was kind of wonky. The investigations that did not happen under his term as an attorney general, because let's not forget that Pedro Rosselló, during his term, was one of the times where Puerto Rico had the most corrupted officials, resulting in over 50 different politicians being arrested and found guilty by the FBI, because Pierluisi never investigated the corruption in the New Progressive Party, which is his collectivity. He never investigated these people for misuse of funds, embezzlement, and other things. So the FBI had to come in and start investigating these people, and found out that over 50 officials were stealing money and embezzling money from the people of Puerto Rico for personal gain. So that was the beginning of his career as a, notorious politician in Puerto Rico. It was, to me, it was disgrace from the beginning, to the point where now we're asking him to do the simplest things and he cannot. But that is his character. And he showed it as an attorney general, he showed it in Washington, D.C. as a congressman, and he has shown it throughout his whole career. I don't know why a lot of people are surprised about this. I am not. I follow his career very close. And like I said, if as an attorney general you cannot condemn or prosecute corruption over 50 different agencies, leaders and secretaries and assistants, and you know I don't know what to tell you about how you're doing your job, that the FBI has to jump in and basically discipline you for not doing what you're supposed to do. Now let's start with um I see Melanated Night is here, and Terrell. Hi guys. I see that a lot of people don't know what happened with Pedro Pierluisi in the past as a congressman, and it is until he is the governor that a lot of people are now, becoming aware of what he has been doing. And I find that, very interesting, given the fact that, when he was, give me 1 second, guys. Given the fact that when he was the congressman for Puerto Rico, it's so crazy that, you know, none of us, well, the majority of us, did not understand that this man actually had a conflict of interest with his wife. The New York Times, as a matter of fact, wrote about this because when he became our congressman, just 20 days after that, his wife started a law firm that actually had as clients people that were actually either bondholders or had other interests over Puerto Rico's finances. And I mean, they were interviewed by the House at some point, and he decided not to provide the names of these clients. It was until the New York Times decided to interview him, and he refused to be interviewed, but they started investigating his wife's clients, and basically his um excuse was basically we have to take his word for it that he was not sharing information with his wife that will eventually of the status of Puerto Rico's finances and the moves that were going to happen politically wise. We will have to take his word for it that he was not sharing this information with his wife. It came down to that. And let's not forget that this man made millions of dollars through his wife's law firm because of the clients that she had. And if that doesn't yell corruption, I do not know what does. And the fact that a lot of people often like to say, oh, politicians are corrupt only in Latin America. That is not true. We have a congressman that was in Washington, D.C., and they were celebrated as a power couple. In the meantime, his wife had access to information that he only had as a congressman because he knew a lot of things and a lot of decisions that were happening regarding Puerto Rico before Puerto Ricans were aware because Washington makes most of the decisions that influence the results that we were going to have on the ground in Puerto Rico. And she had that knowledge before us. So I see Radical Latino says, congrats to 100 subs. Thank you, Radical. Yes. Um, Thank you guys for supporting my channel. I hit 100 subs during this week. So thank you guys for the support. Now we're on the road to 200 subs. So make sure, you let people know about what we're doing here, the way, we talk about important and inspirational subjects so that we can become better and in many aspects of finances and businesses. So back to what I was saying with Pedro Pierluisi, his wife had knowledge of decisions that were going to, you know, were going to affect us financially, either positive or negative, right before us. And like I said, we had to basically take his word that he was not telling his wife on pillow talk or over lunch or dinner the stuff that was happening and the decisions that were being taken place in Washington regarding Puerto Rico. And we have to take his wife's word that she was not sharing or steering um, her clients into the direction um, of taking advantage of the people of Puerto Rico, which is why I'm an advocate for us to get more knowledgeable on stuff like this and business and corporate and law and how things actually work. So after that, he was not reelected in 2012. Um, the opposite party won. So Pedro Pierluisi goes back to the private sector and becomes a lobbyist. And I'm going to show you guys real quick something. Give me 1 second. But basically, remember when I told you guys that his wife established a law firm 20 days after um, he was sworn in as a congressman? Well, Her cousin also started a law firm, O'Neill and Borges, that basically um, serviced and okay, when he was a congressman, he requested that we will have chapter 9 regarding the financial situation of Puerto Rico. This is a snowball situation, but I'm going to try to make it short. With Pedro Rosselló's corrupt officials and his massive corruption in Puerto Rico, a lot of things start to fall apart financially in our island. So that created a massive amount of debt because we had either commitments that were lifelong commitments or commitments of 50 years, 100 years, and stuff like that, that we would still have to be paying, but we didn't have the money to pay. But we also have to and in a sense pay for this expansion of government. What their government did is that even though we're a small island, they expanded the government to give jobs to friends, soul friends and family and people that donated to their collectivity and whatnot. And they started employing these people, expanding the government. And let's not forget that comes out of taxpayers' money, and there's only so much we can pay. So when you expand the government and you assign them with hundreds of thousands of dollars as a salary per year, at some point things are going to start falling apart, especially when you put all these contracts because you're receiving donations from corporations either from the US or locally, and you put all these contracts to be paid with taxpayers' money, you start running out of money. That's not good administration. And because they did so many, because they wanted to enrich themselves instead of thinking about the future of the people of Puerto Rico, they have to start borrowing money. And this is what got Puerto Rico to the point where it is today with the debt of $128 billion that we cannot pay. We borrowed in total between Sila Maria Calderon, Luis Fortuño, and Aníbal Acevedo Vilá, three governors, in the span of 12 years that followed Pedro Rosselló's governorship. We borrowed close to $5 billion, but that debt was sold with internal information that if you ask me personally, in my opinion, it's not a coincidence that the people that bought this debt were clients of Pedro Pierluisi's wife. How do they know that they could purchase this debt and that the people of Puerto Rico were not going to buy it? Because look, if the people of Puerto Rico had the $5 billion that they had to pay 10 years down the road that they borrowed, we will not have this inflated debt today. We would have been debt free. But somehow she knew exactly that we did not have the money to pay that. So it was good to advise her clients to buy that debt, inflate it, and take it out of the people of Puerto Rico's pocket because they could sell it and post any interest that they wanted. Now, Pedro Pierluisi had a very, he says, and many people say that, hey, he fought for Chapter 9, which is something that many states of the United States have access to. But somehow it wasn't approved for the people of Puerto Rico because, hey, we're second class citizens after all. We don't have the same rights as the states have. So, unfortunately, the Washington, D.C. did not approve a chapter 9 for us like they did for the state of Florida, that they're about to do for the state of California, state of New York, when they incur in debt. So what President Obama did in 2016 is that before he left, he decided to impose an oversight board. For those who are not familiar with Ley Promesa, basically is a board that decides, hey, since you guys do not know how to spend money, we're going to tell you how to spend the money and how to control the money and what to invest in. And that's why the people of Puerto Rico, because of our politicians like Pierluisi and Pedro Rosselló and Sila Maria Calderón and Aníbal Acevedo Vila, we lost the opportunity to have our own autonomy over the decisions, the financial decisions that we can make in Puerto Rico. And we lost also the right to vote for the people that make these decisions, because we voted our governors in after this. However, they don't make the decisions anymore. They propose decisions to the oversight board, and the oversight board now decides if they want to pay and make these decisions, or if the people of Puerto Rico should starve and pay the debt first, which is what's happening right now in Puerto Rico. Now, this man alone, I would say, was one of the main faces that orchestrated this horrible scenario we're in. That's a very sticky situation. It's like an abyss that we cannot escape. So when he finished his term as a congressman, he went back to the private sector, and he was quote unquote hired by this firm that was his wife's cousin's law firm, was called O'Neill and Borges. And this law firm, one of their clients is the oversight board. The oversight board has to have lawyers lobbying for their decisions, so that if they incur into either overstretching or not foreseeing something that can be harmful for the people of Puerto Rico, they can have somebody to defend them. Now, the oversight board decided to allow a company called AES to deposit coal burning ashes in the south central part of Puerto Rico, in between Salinas, Peñuelas, and Ay Bonito. Now, what happened was that he, being in the private sector now, started fighting against the lobbyists from Puerto Rico, from the Senate of Puerto Rico, that were fighting that these ashes could be potentially harmful, that they had chemicals that could kill people, give people cancer, and a lot of things that these ashes contain. Now, this man decided that, let's just sell them the idea that these ashes are not harmful to the public, and they can be deposited in Puerto Rico. So for all the coal burning that's happening in the US through the company AES, these ashes land in Puerto Rico. And what they have done is that in the interior part, when they're developing houses, they just put a thin layer of um how can I say, pebbles, something like that. They put it on a quick, like a very thin layer of it, and they claim that supposedly it's basically clean. You can develop this land and build houses. Now, a few years after that, a lot of people started getting sick. When people saw that, when the oversight board sent Pedro Pierluisi, and the Senate of Puerto Rico started fighting with Pedro Pierluisi, lobbying for this ashes to be deposited in Puerto Rico. He claimed that, like I said, they were not harmful, they were not going to do nothing, and we were going to receive some benefit out of this, translated into job creations. And a lot of people believed him. A lot of people were like, hey, AES is coming to Puerto Rico. Now we're going to have a lot of jobs in the interior part of the island. It's going to be good. We're going to urbanize this area and whatnot. And what they brought was ashes in return. I have it's in Spanish, but I'll still translate for you guys. And I just want to show you guys the ashes and the thin ledger of either dirt or pebbles that they throw in, but you guys can see that the ashes are still there. Now, eventually, a lot of people started developing cancer. A lot of women started having miscarriages. And also, a lot of people started developing heart conditions as a result of this. And as you can see in this picture, there's a man unveiling the ashes, and right behind him, that's one of the acreage that was developed into urbanizations, which is basically a gated community. In Puerto Rico, there's a lot of gated communities. We call them urbanizations. But there's a lot of people that started getting this result as a result of the ashes. And when the University of Puerto Rico decided to study the land, because a lot of people were saying that the water at the river started turning in different colors and looking whitish, and the animals started dying. The University of Puerto Rico decided to launch an investigation and started collecting samples from the land and the water, and they found arsenic. And there's two types of arsenic, organic and non-organic, and it was the non-organic one, and it's extremely toxic, and it was all the way up to the level of being harmful. Now, remember when I said that they claimed that they were gonna just put like a thin layer of ashes in this land and then a thin layer of dirt and pebbles? Well, the University of Puerto Rico discovered that they have been putting in the interior part of the island up to 12 feet of width or of length, however you want to call it, in ashes in our land, of in containing this harmful arsenic. So a lot of people, a lot of women started having, like I said, miscarriages. A lot of people started having a lot of gastrointestinal issues, neuropathies, a lot of lesions in their skin, cancer, heart diseases, and it happened in a few years. So unfortunately, Pierluisi threw a blind eye at that point because he was doing something that was more important to him at that point. Give me 1 second, guys. Let me move him from here so you guys can see what I was talking about. As you guys can see, this is the man that I was talking about, and these are the urbanizations right behind him. There's one of them right here. And this is how literally places in Guayama, Peñuelas, Puerto Rico, Salinas, this is how our lands look right now. Even the grass has started dying. So also in 2019, a lot of people that noticed this started protesting and blocking the constant trucks that started coming with the ashes. And this literally fell in deaf ears. Okay, a lot of people ignore this issue because, well, it's in the interior part of the island, so they did not care. And the media, as it has been proven, decided that, it's not something important that we need to cover. So people are still getting sick for this, and we have a contract thanks to Pedro Pierluisi with AS till 2052. So we're gonna start we're gonna keep getting this harmful ashes until 2052. So we have a long time to go. And then a lot of people wonder why Puerto Ricans get sick so much, and it's because of this. Now, after this situation, Pedro Pierluisi continued his work with O'Neill and Borges, the law firm that he was working for in the private sector, even though he was still, had some information, inside information, due to the fact that he was a congressman just a few years before this. Now, when the protests of Ricky Rosselló started happening in 2019, during that summer, a lot of his officials resigned. So he didn't have a Secretary of State, so he could not resign and leave the seat, with nobody. So basically, what he did is that he called Pedro Pierluisi. Ricky Rosselló called Pedro Pierluisi and said, "Hey, come over here and I'll nominate you for Secretary of State." And that's what he did. And even though he had a lot of pushback from the Senate to be actually to approve of this nomination, because they were like, weren't you just fighting us fighting against us for the ashes. You were pro ashes just a year ago. Now all of a sudden, you want to be against ashes because you have to look after the best interests of the people of Puerto Rico. And once again, Pedro Pierluisi found himself in a position of conflict of interest. So I don't know if you guys can tell, but it is starting to become a pattern for him. This man's loyalties have an expiration date, just like our Senate president had said in the past, you know. But unfortunately, his nomination was passed by the Senate of Puerto Rico in 2019, and he became the Secretary of State. Now, many of you guys, I don't know if many of you guys know, but Pedro Pierluisi had his sights on the governorship of Puerto Rico for whatever malicious intentions he has on his mind, and which is what we're seeing right now. Because I do not believe this man actually cares for Puerto Rico. He wants to increase his net worth. He doesn't understand that these things cost lives, or if he does, he really doesn't care. So basically, um, if Ricardo Rosselló resigned in 2019, if he did not have a Secretary of State, the Attorney General will become a governor. So Pedro Pierluisi decided that as soon as Ricardo Rosselló resigned, he decided to be sworn in a private setting and become the governor of Puerto Rico. And he managed to go into La Fortaleza, which is the governor mansion in Puerto Rico, and proclaim himself the governor. That was a Friday. And 4 days after, the Senate said, no, according to the Puerto Rican Constitution, you are not. You have to let Wanda Vasquez be sworn in. And that's what she did. So, because he wanted this to happen, and he wanted to be the governor because there's still parts of Puerto Rico that he could sail away at the expense of our lives, he decided to run for governorship in 2020. And guess what? 33% of Puerto Ricans voted for this man. Unfortunately, 67% of Puerto Ricans did not vote for him. So that's why he's getting a lot of pushback with everything he's doing. But I believe he's still going to manage to have it done. Now, like I said, there's a lot of things that I can say about Pedro Pierluisi, and I just wanted to bring like a very quick briefing on who this man is. And I'm also going to insert my opinion. This man is not a good person. He's not, there's not such a thing as a good politician, right? Let's just put that out there. But the fact is that this man and his collectivity is like a cancer that's eating up at our people. And the way he does politics, with the amount of disregard that he does it, um is disgusting. And the fact of the matter is that he introduced a new way of doing politics with this disregard of his constant conflict of interest. When he's in the private sector, I'm pretty sure he exchanged information with these places to actually then come back into the politics setting and actually get that part done. And then he goes back to the private sector, and gets this agenda advanced for the takeover of our island. And it's like I said, it pains me to see that 33% of our people still voted for this man without the proper knowledge of, you know, what is really costing us. And for those who do not know and did not saw what I said about Eliezer Molina, the episode is up. What happened to Eliezer is just the beginning. We're seeing that our beaches are being sold. Our the outskirts of our national forests are being sold. Our power grid is being sold. To a company that was just established 30 days before they were granted $100 million in a contract, a juicy contract. from the Commonwealth of Puerto Rico. So it's like I said, it's disgusting what we're seeing right now. But this man is the face of the bad situation in Puerto Rico. Every time you open your wallet and you see that there's less and less money left for savings and for food, this is the culprit. This man is the culprit of that. There's a reason why he was shamed in the debates constantly, is because he's the responsible person that has been involved in every decision that has hammered one nail at a time at the death of Puerto Rico as we knew it. And he has done it in less than 12 years. This has been his career. This has been who he is and what he does for a living. It's selling his people. And the reason why I have stated this before in the Lie Latinos Have Belief Part 1, the reason why these people do not care about us is because they are not us. I don't know how many times I had to explain this. These people are not true Latinos. They come from directly from Spain, establish themselves in one generation in Puerto Rico, and they send their kids to study here in the US, come back and become a politician. That is their MO. All of them. If you trace them back, that's who they are. These are people that are exercising their white supremacy in Latin America, one of them at a time. And like I said, it's disgusting to see that we have people still defending them and just being used to actually sell our island away at the expense of our people. Now I'm going to allow people in for a little bit. I don't want to extend this too much because, as you guys know, I usually don't do this on Saturdays, but basically, we have so much to discuss about this man and what's going on in the island of Puerto Rico. And I'm pretty sure if I come back in 3 months, I will have more things and more backdoor deals that this man is doing. And his only response always is, well, you might have to take my word for it. Well, I have something to tell you, Pedro Pierluisi. I do not take your word for it. I see right through your bullshit, and I know you're selling us away. And a lot of Puerto Ricans know you're selling us away. This is not something that we're unaware of. We're seeing you on the moves that you're doing. We see you coming. We see what you're doing, and we will make sure that you are shame and disgrace just like your predecessor. Now, you guys know I always go into intermission before the calls are in. Follow me on Instagram and also like and subscribe to this channel. I'm sorry, and I will be back in a few minutes to actually start the discussion with people that might want to come in and discuss it with me. Like I said, we're not gonna long it out too much because it's a Saturday and whatnot, and we all have stuff to do or probably places to go and enjoy. But I did wanted to bring this information um, so that we can get things moving and people can know what's going on in Puerto Rico, why we're going through the stuff we're going through. And like I said, I'm going to take a few minutes in the intermission, probably 3 4 minutes. So the ones that are, I see Radical and Jose in the back, I will put you guys on in a few minutes. Let's go into intermission and I'll be right back. Well, we're back, and I see that I have Jose and I have Radical here. How are you guys?
Good afternoon, everybody, and good afternoon to everybody that's listening to the live stream.
How are you, Radical? Is Radical there? Pierluisi got him.
Hey,
Anyway,
I
hey,
was just having mic issues. What's up?
I thought Pierluisi got you.
Oh,
So, what do you guys think on this topic? What do you guys think now that I explained more in depth, like what Pierluisi is, the actual governor of Puerto Rico, and what he has done in his career?
anybody could go.
To be, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, Radical.
No. Let Jose go.
Okay, go ahead, Jose.
Okay, appreciate it. First of all, before I go on, Radical, I just want to say I enjoyed your contact, and I really enjoyed your face video.
Oh,
Okay,
thank you.
okay. Now, the more I hear about this individual, the more it makes me want to cringe. And when you think about the harm that it's doing to the, to our people in Puerto Rico, I just have a question: is there any way that he could be recalled as governor and do something similar to what was done in 2019?
We will have to find a charge that we can present to the Senate, and they will have to start the impeachment. It's up to them.
So basically, until the next election, they're basically stuck with this guy.
Unless the people of Puerto Rico, like we did with Ricardo Rosselló, that we pressure the House of Representatives to actually issue charges against this man, yeah, we're pretty much stuck with him.
Oh my goodness gracious! I mean, those dear people are going to be suffering
Sorry
with
about
this.
that. I'm having like internet issues right now.
Okay. It's just it's just a shame, you know, the harm that Pierluisi is doing to Puerto Rico. I mean, with all the stuff that's going on, but I think what's crazy was the fact that his cousin actually created an infinity pool in an area regarding the correct terrors, even though they are in danger of facing extinction.
Yeah, let's not forget that part. It's, oh my god, it was insane. The fact, look, the more you look into this man, the more you realize that he's corruption the person. If corruption was a person, it will have Pierluisi's face.
Okay. I'm gonna let Radical say his words because like to hear his take on it as well.
Yeah,
Oh, Pierluisi is getting him. He doesn't want Radical to go at him. But honestly, I agree with you. Oh, he's back. Go
sorry.
ahead, Radical.
I swear to God, my internet's so spotty right now. I don't know what's going on. I just want to say that it's very it's really crazy just hearing everything that you said, Denise. So most of the things I didn't even know was occurring on the island like that. What I
He'll be back. He'll be back.
Oh boy.
But
Maybe it's Pierre Luis is
Pierluisi,
doing this to try to stop Radical from speaking.
yeah, yeah, he's getting radical right now.
You know, some people cannot deal with the truth.
Yeah, yeah, we see it every day. We see it every day, and it's like I said, it's crazy to see that a lot of people still believe his lies. They use and exploit the stance of people pro statehood to actually get them to vote for these people.
Um,
And people, because we're not educated properly, people didn't know how businesses work, how finances, how corporations work, and what does that represent. Right now, look at the contract we have with Luma. I will do a piece on that. Okay, Radical, he said his Wi-Fi is bugging, that he's gonna reset it and hold on. Okay, in the meantime, like I said, right now people do not know what the Luma contract represents, because it's 849 pages long. Nobody is going to read that and understand all those pages. I understand a little bit more, and I have only gotten to read 112 pages of those 849, and I already found five things that are illegal with this contract.
wow.
Yeah, it's disgusting. It's like I said, and this is when, before he got elected, he was like, "Oh, I will pursue that the workers for the AEE, the Autoridad de Energía Eléctrica, are protected." However, when he got into the governorship, he was like, now, well, I will make sure that the contract, it's fully done properly in the transition, because I cannot back down from that contract. You see how his loyalties and his interest always, it always points out to be him. It's never the people, it's always him.
Is it possible that people, I mean, at one point look at him as a savior, just like in this country, the white evangelicals look at Trump as their savior?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Because if you think about it, he was celebrated with his wife in Washington, D.C. as a power couple. And people just, it's like I said, our politicians right now are celebrities. And people adore them as if they were monarchs. And it's that's the reason why we don't move forward in life, because we keep looking at things in the wrong way, because we let media educate us, the TV to educate us, social media to educate us, and we're like, oh, this person is handsome, let's vote for him. Oh, this person is cute or is sassy, let's vote for him. And these decisions should not be taken lightly. Look at right now how people, knowing full well that both parties suck, Trump sucks, Biden sucks, but nobody decided to vote for the Green Party. Give new people a new chance to fail. Why we keep voting the same people in? It's the same thing that's happening in Puerto Rico and it's happening everywhere else. We are so scared of change that we don't understand that you are right now in a position that if you keep voting for the same people, voting is the only thing we have to contest the mighty and powerful people that we have ruling us. And if you don't know how to use it, they will use your vote against you. How? They will start this propaganda of how they're like this savior, this angelical, like you said, person, and how they will bring progress and they're so cute and stuff. And they will distract you with knickknacks. Oh, you know what? President Biden today gave a flower from the ground to his wife. Oh, Pedro Pierluisi today, has a new girlfriend. Oh, and let's not forget Pedro Pierluisi also, a woman before he got elected. She brought up some text messages of him sexually harassing her because she was his personal trainer, and she did not wanted the sexual advances that he was throwing at her. In her case, I'm pretty sure they probably pay her off.
Well, the fact of the matter is, unfortunately, human nature does not like change. I mean, I cannot speak for Puerto Rico because I never lived there. But I know, like in the United States, when John Kennedy was running for president in 1960, they couldn't handle the deal with the fact that he was Catholic, and everyone was afraid that he's going to take his orders from the Pope. And in 2008, when Barack Obama was running for president and got elected as the first African American president, I mean, people, they actually gotten conviction fits. And actually, there is a video clip of which John McCain, in one of his rallies, he had to shut a woman, one of his supporters down because they was making wild accusations about Obama. And, he had to say, you know what? Barack Obama is a decent man. It's just that there's certain things that we disagree on.
I disagree with that because of what he did to my people with the
Hmm.
oversight board. He took, with one decision, he took our rights away. So
Hmm.
I do not see Obama. I don't respect Obama at all. To
Okay.
me, he's the one person that destroyed Puerto Rico with the oversight board
Hmm.
and did not make Chapter 9 available for us so that we can have a fighting chance. So no, I believe he was, well, Moise Picard said decent. Nah, I wouldn't call him decent. He's indecent in every way. When you do that to 3 million people and force people like myself to leave the place you're born in and you're happy in and you love, and you hinder our progress like this, and you basically make us live under, circumstances that are disgusting, like, for example, I'll tell you two things. um the oversight board costs the people of Puerto Rico $6 million per year because we have to pay them salary, their travel expenses, their food, their relocation expenses. The lady that runs the oversight board, Natalie Yaresko, is an Ukrainian lady that destroyed the Ukraine finances. Yet that's one of the persons that was appointed to rule over us. And then Obama knowing, hey, I might not be reelected. I don't have any control over this. The next president will, and oh, so Moises said he's like, I was being sarcastic.
Hmm.
Yeah. So it's like I said, when Obama ran for presidency in Puerto Rico, there was kind of like a excitement because we were like, hey, a president that looks like us, we're going to, because we only can vote in the primaries. So when
Hmm.
he came to Puerto Rico in the primaries, we were like, of course you got our vote. Come on. We want to see people that look like ourselves in the White House. So we gave him our vote in the primaries. So he won the primaries. And we were like, yeah, Obama, when he won, a lot of Puerto Ricans were holding vigils and crying out of happiness, celebrating. That was the first time that we actually embraced the American flag. It was when Obama won because we thought, hey, equality is around the corner. And it wasn't. This man just set us back to the gobierno insular we had in the 1940s and the 1930s with the United States when we did not had any power whatsoever to the decisions that will affect our lives. Why? Because he put another layer of government ruling our government. Our governor is not the governor of Puerto Rico. Our governor is just somebody that ministers the colony based on the decisions of the oversight board. For example, the pensions that people, for like my mom, work in government or any other agency for so many years, if you're on a pension and because your level of education grants you a higher salary than the average person, in your retirement, you know that they take money out of your paychecks to put towards your retirement. If you're getting paid let's say 1800 per month, the oversight board is fighting now to reduce it to 1200.
That's
So
that's incredible. And please forgive me for cutting in like this
no,
because
go ahead.
$1,800 a month, that's nothing.
Yeah, yeah. So it's like I said, it's a disaster. And the fact that they like, well, we have to take those extra $600 and we have to put them towards the debt that Pedro Pierluisi's wife helped American corporations and venture capitalists buy and inflate so that we can pay it and they can get richer.
Incredible. That is so, so sad. And of course, you're the only one that's bringing all this to light. None of the so-called YouTubers are bringing it to like this.
Yeah, they're not interested in getting to know. I'm pretty sure if you ask them about this, I mean, probably after they watch my stuff, you know,
Well,
they would
but you know
probably
what they're
answer
gonna
a few
say? I'm
questions.
sorry. You know what they're gonna say? They're gonna say that you made it all up to try to increase views
Yeah,
and get more likes.
yeah, 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 for sure.
Mhm.
But you know what? It's like I said, the New York Times agrees with me. Are they gonna say that the New York Times is full of shit? You
No,
know, like how narcissistic people can be to say that even the New York Times is wrong when they are saying, yo, there's a conflict of interest that the House of Representatives is now questioning this congressman, and these are the corporations that work, are the, I'm sorry, Pedro Pierluisi's wife's clients. So it's like I said, who's wrong? Like if I'm wrong, then the New York Times is wrong.
but you know what's the problem is you have people that working under their own set of truths. Okay, so therefore, when someone comes with facts, they cannot deal with it. And it's sad, and it's just it's just part of the problem is people have this victim mentality, and people just cannot deal with the truth. It's just that they rather deal with their own lunacy than
Yeah.
accept reality.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. I agree with you. It's
Hmm.
it's because I don't know, it's something that there are layers of miseducation, you know, and it's going to take some time and a lot of therapy for people to actually get over this.
I
So,
have I have a
yeah,
question. The
yeah,
educational system in Puerto Rico, is it similar to the educational system here in the United States, or is it different?
it's similar. It's similar with a few changes because of how mediocre it's administered. But
Really?
in reality, it's supposed to be the same. It's just that it focuses more on telling us that, Christopher Columbus came to love us, and that's it. And Tainos passed away, and that was it. So
And
if you,
Spain, and don't forget, Spain is the great paradigm, and we should all strive to be Caucasian 100%.
yeah, I mean, it's not necessarily thought like that because in Puerto Rico we are taught since kindergarten that we're three races in one. And a lot of people start rejecting that notion of hispanidad around 12 years old.
Mm-hmm.
That's when you start waking up and saying, hey, what I was taught in elementary school is full of shit.
Yeah.
And you start looking for answers yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So, like I said, it's really cringeworthy. I don't know if you guys have heard, but close to 13,000 students failed um, in the ninth grade this with this pandemic in Puerto Rico, and that's a lot because we're only 2.8 million people down there. So that's a lot of the students that go to school.
You know what, Denise? To be perfectly honest, I'm not all surprised because here in New York, um, since the pandemic, I mean, everybody the student have to do Zoom classes, but the problem is not everyone has access to internet. Not everyone has access to a laptop or a smartphone or what have you. And then sometimes there's problem with the Wi-Fi connection. Um, Many times where I'm trying to work remotely and I have to like send an email with my smartphone stating there's a problem with my Wi-Fi. I cannot gain access to my programs because of the Wi-Fi connection. So if I'm having this problem, imagine a 9-year old or a 10-year-old that it's in a living without the benefit of a laptop or Wi-Fi. What's how disadvantaged that child is.
Yeah, it because this is the thing, Jose. The problem in Puerto Rico is that we still have a lot of rural areas. Areas in Puerto Rico are basically mountains. And because they have not paid attention to the demands that these people do, hey, I want to have internet here, up here in the mountains, make it happen. And the government throws a blind eye. Now with the C-19, what happened is that it literally, the whole pandemic shed a higher light. It highlighted all the problems that our people have. We started seeing the amount of people that actually don't have access to internet, that don't possess a laptop or a computer. How many of our kids we saw that were going to the Taco Bells and the Starbucks to get the Wi-Fi to actually study. And in Puerto Rico, they promised these kids a tablet so that they could study, but the tablets arrived like what, 7 8 months, you know so it's like I said. And I want to make a quick disclaimer: please do not broadcast here other people's content. Let whoever wants to go to those other streams and whatnot, let them go, but let's not promote that here. So it's like I said, with that being said, in Puerto Rico, a lot of the kids don't have access to this stuff, and they did not have any other way to study. And even the teachers, because teachers are paid 1,500 a month. That's how they start.
Excuse me.
And
Did I hear
yes,
you? I'm sorry. Did I hear you correctly?
yeah, it's 1,500 a month.
So
I
that's
I come
basically
from a
375.
family.
That's 375 a week.
Yeah, basically. And that's before taxes.
Okay.
So imagine if you dare to have a child and you dare to purchase a house and a vehicle. You cannot afford probably Wi-Fi. I know, like, my family has 11 educators, and some of them could not afford some of these things. So of course, how they're going to teach their kids, the kids that they are supposed to be teaching. So it was a very crazy system. Also, private schools were charging still full price for the kids that they had. And a lot of these kids were like, hey, my parents are not working right now, they're not receiving unemployment yet, they cannot pay the full month, and they refuse to give these kids the materials to actually study. So it's like I said, and to respond to Good Boy said, how you can live off of that, you're just barely living. Yeah, definitely. Like I said, my family has 11 educators, and depending on how much they invested in their career, like for example, my mother has been an educator since 1988, and she had to actually go back to college and get a PhD in order for her to get 2,500 a month. And and she still has three jobs, in order to survive. In Puerto Rico, things are complicated. And also, she doesn't have Wi-Fi because she lives in the mountains. And because she lives in the mountains, she doesn't have this service provided for her. So she had to go to my other sister's house that lives more in the flats in Puerto Rico, and had access to the internet to teach the kids. It was a roller coaster of BS.
That's 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 incredible. I mean, just to give an example. Um, for most people working for the city of New York with a bachelor's degree, um, as far as like for people in that's covered under our title of our local, the average salaries I think is about 45,000 a year. Now you try and manage to live on 45,000 a year in New York City by yourself. Never mind the fact if you have a wife and children.
Yeah. It's like I said, it's crazy because these people actually cannot live with the money that they get, and you see now that they still owe 128 billion dollars, and I'm like, how are they going to pay that? And it's all
Um, I,
because it's all because of the mismanagement of these people. It's so disgusting. If you guys want to know the debates that we were having, uh I'm gonna show something. I'm gonna show something real quick, but before I show that, if you guys watch the debates for the Puerto Rican governorship this past 2020, you guys can see that more people than you would think feel the same way. Now, because like I mentioned before, only 33% voted for this man, and the other 67% voted for other people because they did not believe him. He started getting a lot of threats and people trying to quote unquote intimidate him, according to him, because he was reopening the schools at the expense of the kids and the teachers' health. And he had to close them back down in 2 weeks because after he threatened the people, I'm going to show first what he said when people were telling him, don't open the schools. Our department of our department of health is our health department, I'm sorry, is not sustainable enough to take another wave of C-19. And I'm going to show you guys what he said when people were telling him that he was mediocre for doing that.
Bueno, eso es lo que voy a decir a base de tu pregunta. Pudiera decir más cosas, ¿sabes? Pero tu pregunta no, pues dígala. No entró. Bueno, que es que he leído en los medios lenguaje, las palabras, básicamente, que lo que indican es que me están amenazando a mí. Y le voy a decir a todos que yo no me intimido por amenazas, vengan de donde vengan. Eso no funciona conmigo. Así que conmigo sí se puede dialogar. Conmigo sí pueden pedirme audiencia, hacerme reclamos. Pero el que viene así, se encontró con este jíbaro que eso no funciona. El que inviste un jíbaro sabe la que viene. Y a mí, eso, conmigo eso no va. Así que respeten, siempre con respeto. Las amenazas conmigo no van. Vengan de donde vengan.
¿Qué se refiere a las expresiones de Jaramillo ayer de que sacaron a Rick y que lo podrían sacar ustedes?
Bueno, yo no voy a poner palabras en la boca de nadie. Este servidor fue bien claro en todo momento antes de asumir el cargo de la gobernación. Siempre dije que iba a revisar el contrato y de ser necesario hacer lo que fuera posible por enmendar. Jamás dije que iba a cancelar ese contrato. Así que dejen de decir que yo he cambiado de postura. Mi postura es la misma. Lo que he hecho no solo es revisar el contrato, creé un comité timón para fiscalizar precisamente el contrato, la transición que se está llevando a cabo y como dice la orden ejecutiva que crea el comité timón, que lo preside el secretario de Estado, el comité timón puede recomendarme posibles enmiendas para que se negocien. O sea que aquí la puerta no está cerrada a posibles enmiendas a ese contrato, jamás ha estado cerrada.
Now, I don't know if you heard what he said about the schools, and then he proceeded to talk about the Luma Energy contract when they were telling him, "Hey, this is not a good contract. It's time to withdraw from it." He's like, "Well, I've said now that I'm not gonna cancel it. I'm not changing my position." Morena says, Why does he sound Cuban?" Morena, because he's not real. He's not a real Puerto Rican, so he speaks more like a neutral Spanish with a mixture of Cuban, Puerto Rican, and Spaniard. So of course, he's not gonna sound like your normal Puerto Rican. However, like I said, man,
If I
this
might
man
chime
is.
in,
Yeah, go ahead.
he kind of reminds me of our governor in New York, Andrew Cuomo, um, because last year he was looked upon as the great savior because he was, on top on the situation with COVID-19. But yet we found out that a lot of the figures as far as the death in the nursing homes were hidden, so not to show a true number of people that died in the nursing homes. And then there's all the allegations of sexual harassment. So I mean, he looks like a Latino version of Andrew Cuomo.
Yeah. It's because these people are all uh little fragments of the same cloth, if that
Mhm.
makes sense. They have the same mentality, and it's a predatory mentality. It's like, let's make money out of the people. We're the commodity. make
Yeah.
make no mistake, we are the commodity to these people, and that's why I get so upset. And many people, have come for me because of it, but I get so upset at them and their stupidity, because they just float through life and they know nothing about these things. There's a lot of people in Puerto Rico still, and the diaspora, the New Yorkers, the Philippines, they don't know that we're living among poisonous ashes. They don't know that, the Condado Lagoon right now is being polluted by the Hiltons. They don't know right now, that the outskirts of our national forests are being up for sale for the price of rotten fish. So people like Jake Paul and Logan Paul can buy them, and do whatever they want with them. Like, they don't know these things. And it's like, when you come from this position, when you're shedding a light on that, and you see that they question you on your personal level, in your personal life, it's so frustrating.
Yes. And going back, you know, to the debate that you had with Chi. I mean, first of all, he asked you to show proof, but all he was able to do is to make a lot of false claims and false accusations. And the fact of the matter is, it's easy for him to ask for your proof. when you don't even have to show proof. But
Yeah.
when you are arguing with an emotion, it just makes you seem pathetic and weak.
Yes, yes, definitely. Because it's like, oh, you're so insignificant. Oh, your channel is insignificant. Yet he was there still trying to debate with me.
Yeah,
If I'm so insignificant, then why are you talking to me? Why you're
and
coming into my stream if I'm so
mhm,
insignificant?
yeah, and the fact of the matter is, the reality, he's never gotten to your strength, because if he had gotten to your strength, first of all, he would have hear the same information I'm getting now. I'm getting from you. He would have known about this information. It's just that he was overwhelmed. The fact that he was debating with a strong Latina that actually knows her business,
Yeah.
and he just couldn't deal with it.
He came to my first stream and made a fool of himself.
Yes.
Because when asked questions about, what's happening right now, his response was mediocre, in my opinion. I believe this is his response. For those who do not know, when I asked him a direct question of a solution, this is what he said.
Like honestly, I have like no idea what you just said because I'm not really educated on this subject.
That's what he had to say. So people have to make their decisions when, if you follow this circus, I have very bad news for you. It's really it's cringe
If you
worthy.
follow this circus,
Ramon, quiet. I mean, close your other tab on YouTube so that we don't get the feedback. Now, I'm glad that Ramon is here because he's another fellow Puerto Rican, and it's nice to, have us all here talking about this stuff. How are you, Ramon?
I'm good. I'm good. How you guys doing on this Saturday afternoon, early afternoon? Well, I don't know the time difference. Is it with you, Denise?
It's about to be the afternoon.
Okay,
well,
okay, okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
well, okay. Well, it's almost 3:30 over here in New York, and Ramon, it's always a pleasure to hear from you.
Likewise, sir.
Mhm.
So, Ramon, what are your thoughts on Pedro Pierluisi?
Well, I mean, I don't know. Hi. This is gonna be a little painful. I don't know if you had a chance to check out Fighter stream last night.
No, I did
Uh,
not.
I
yeah,
participated. I participated
yeah,
in
yeah, yeah,
part of
yeah,
the
yeah.
stream.
Don Jose was there, and I had a chance to kind of like talk a little bit about what was going on recently, the situation with the power company, and how it, sloppy of a job Pierluisi did when it comes to handling that, when it came to handling the contracts. And I don't know if there was some kind of a misinformation, or it all came down to him owing a favor to somebody else, because you know how it is with politicians. They are
I'm pretty
always
sure
doing
they
each other.
plan it. I don't know if you have watched the whole thing.
No. I'm sorry.
Trust me. If you watch this from the beginning, you will be caught up. I'm pretty sure
Okay.
this is because if you think about it, we have been in the last 30 years, Puerto Rico has had many people from the PNPs,
Yeah.
and both parties are in this. They just give each other a pat in the back behind closed doors, but hate each other in front of us. But they orchestrate this together, and
Yeah.
Pierluisi is literally the face of the status. Every time, like I said, a Puerto Rican is broke or hungry or doesn't have enough money, Pedro Pierluisi is the culprit because he started his career in 2009, and it took him close to 12 years to actually put us in this position by sharing internal information with through his wife with his wife's law firm clients. And that's why our debt was bought and inflated. That's why we have the killer ashes in the interior, in the south interior part of the island. You know, it's his corruption knows no limits. You
Yeah,
know.
I heard something about the ashes that they were burning stuff and tossing the ashes on some lands, and they were getting all polluted and contaminated. So those lands wouldn't be able to be fit for, as in, to be used as arable land, and kind of like to be able
But
to.
people are living there. You know that right now in
Oh,
Peñuelas, people are having cancer. People are
yeah,
getting cardiovascular issues. They're getting diabetes. They're getting skin rashes and lesions. Women
yeah,
are miscarrying left and right for no reason, and it all goes back to that. And also in the Rio in Guayama, in the
yeah.
river, they have found the arsenic there too.
Oh, okay, yeah,
So
yeah,
it's all because of what he lobbied for this ashes to be put in Puerto Rico, and this is the result. And we're gonna get them till 2052,
yeah. Yeah,
unfortunately. So it's every time that he fails in his political career, he goes back to the private sector and exchange information with them that will be harmful for us, because then we don't have a dog in the fight anymore. Because if we had something to fight with, like a bargaining chip or ace of spades to actually, you know, play with the corporate sector, the private sector back and forth, so we can get a decent deal, he
yeah.
hinders that process by sharing information.
That sounds like insider trading. I mean,
Yeah,
isn't that supposed to be prohibited?
yeah, but we are supposed to take his word for it.
The key word is supposed to be.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, no,
Please
because
forgive the humor.
what you're describing, that sounds like insider trading, and companies, when it comes to companies, when it comes to the stock exchange, and those things, when it comes to companies having stocks, they're supposed to have information, keep information confidential that is not available to investors, because that's what they call it, insider trading, and people go to jail for it. I think I think it was Martha Stewart that was actually arrested for that. Of course, very little happened to her, but my understanding
Mhm.
that it had to do her getting arrested had to do with insider trading, and that sounds like insider trading, trading internal secrets, internal information from companies to use to their advantage when it comes to investing. That sounds like it's almost exactly the same thing, just not with the stock exchange itself. But yeah, yeah. And just yesterday, I was calling home about the whole situation with the protest that happened at the entrance of Buchanan. I commented a little bit on that uh, last night on Fighter Stream. It was late. It was late. It was like over. It was past 1 in the morning. We were still up talking there, and when there was a comment, something was being said about Puerto Rico, and I took a chance and I went off a little bit. I talked about the protest at Buchanan, and I also commented when it came to what we talked about, what was going on with the construction of that infinity pool right at the beach, and how parts of the island are being sold off to outsiders, to foreigners, and how it could eventually end up in Puerto Rico being like a situation like in Hawaii, how the locals can't afford to live close to the water because the
Yeah.
beachfront property is so expensive, and only foreigners can afford it.
Look at what Tomas Rivera Chat said. He's the former Senate president of Puerto Rico when
Former,
he's the former, yeah, he's not the president, and he's still in the Senate, but not the president.
okay,
Now he was, you know, the Senate has to vet the nomination, especially coming from Ricky Rosselló when he nominated him as a Secretary of State so that he could take his place in
yeah.
being the governor. This is not just something that I have said. Even Tomas Rivera Schatz said it. Look at this.
Yo creo que hay que darle el debido proceso al compañero Pedro Pierluisi. Creo que tiene graves conflictos. Creo que las expresiones que hizo ayer y hoy lo descualifican todavía más de lo que ya estaba. A mí no me inspira confianza para gobernar en esas circunstancias, porque el abogado de quien ha sido el enemigo número 1 de Puerto Rico no puede estar al mando de Puerto Rico. Si en la Cámara se arrodillan, allá ellos. Si tuviera algún costo político que no confirmemos a Pedro Pierluisi porque entendemos que no es, que lo tenga. Yo he dicho y repito una vez más hoy, yo no negocio principios ni valores por votos. El día que yo me vaya de aquí, no me iré como Ricardo se está yendo o como se fue Aníbal Acevedo Vilá. Dos gobernadores que avergonzaron a Puerto Rico y que hoy alguna gente, después que la semana pasada lo acusaban, lo trituraban y lo torturaban y lo demonizaban, resulta que ahora ha hecho una nominación que es como si viniera de un oráculo. Así que lamento decirle a los que pretendan burlarse de Puerto Rico una vez más, lamento decirles a los que quieren coger, no tan solo ahora a los nuestros, como decía él, sino a todo Puerto Rico, cogerlo una vez más en contubernio con Aníbal Acevedo Vilá y Grupo Ferrangel. Lamento decirles que te conozco, bacalao, aunque vengas disfrazado.
Those were the expressions of Tomas Rivera Chats when he was brought up to comment on how fit Pierluisi actually was
Yeah.
to be the governor of Puerto Rico. I mean, they even can see it. This man has built a whole career with conflicts of interest, selling inside information for
Yeah.
his personal financial gain. So it's like I said, I don't even know how he was approved by his collectivity to actually, and that man, Tomas Rivera Chat, is from his own
Yes.
collectivity.
Yes, I know.
So I don't know how they approve him to be a contender for governorship to begin with. They should be sued for that.
Hmm.
Well, Pierluisi should be in prison right now.
Yeah.
Because what you just described, that insider trading thing, that should be an imprisonable offense. So he shouldn't be out. He shouldn't be. He shouldn't be in the Fortaleza.
No, he should not. But it's like I said, it's gonna take him to do something major for Puerto Rico to arise and kick him out.
2019. 2019. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
2019. It has worked before.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. We need this. Look, we need this, Ramon. We need this.
Maybe, I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut. Maybe we need like a millennial, something like the new president of El Salvador to try to bring some normalcy back to Puerto Rico.
Yeah, probably a move like that. So it's like I said, hi, all aboard. I see that you're in. Jump in. Jump in, jump in, give us your thoughts. But seriously, it's like I said, it's disgusting that, we have people like Eliezer Molina fighting with this type of men. And right
Mhm.
now, I'm gonna give you guys an update. Eliezer Molina is facing 14 years in prison for what he did
For,
because
Mhm.
excuse me, 14 years for civil disobedience.
they give him civil disobedience, they gave him breaking and entering, and also punitive damages.
Okay, excuse me. First of all, let's deal with the punishment fitting the crime. Okay, when January the 6th, when we had the mega maniacs came into Washington D.C. and caused all that disruption. Okay, even though supposedly 400 people was arrested, I mean, none of them are facing the time, the prison that this man is. So it's like, but then again, I guess I should not be surprised But it's sad. And it's like they fear how much they fear this man that they want to put in prison for 14 years.
They're making him an example. It's about making him an example to discourage anybody else to follow in his footsteps, to do the same thing that he was doing. They're making him an example. It's not because he did something so criminally bad. It's it is they're making him an example.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you can rebel,
Yeah.
you know, against the elites, and be left, without a scratch. That's basically what they're telling him. So it's like I said, it's so disgusting what's happening.
It's like a plantation system over there in Puerto Rico.
Yeah,
And heaven forbid you say something against the masses.
exactly. It's like I said, when people don't believe me and say like, oh, um you have to, the problem with you is that you're so crazy, and you're making all this shit up, and
And
you're doing
that you're against
this, and
Latino men.
yeah, you're
Or-
just a leftist. What's the other thing that they have called me? Liberal and all kinds of shit.
Okay, but who's saying that you're making shit up?
Come again?
Who's saying that you're making shit up?
Some of my detractors that come to tell me that I'm making shit up.
Okay, but
I'm
are the
like,
Puerto Rican, the Puerto Rican,
some
or at least
claim
knowledgeable?
some claim to be Puerto Rican, but somehow they don't even know La Borinqueña.
Okay, okay,
But
yeah.
you know something, just to discuss myself, because I try to be pragmatic and I try to see the situation as is, not what I like it to be. And the fact of the matter is, forgive me if I sound like a broken record, but what you're doing is you're bringing truth that certain individuals cannot handle. I mean, they cannot handle that your truth, and the fact that it's harming this concept that they have about the inversion of Hispanidad, how you know their delusional way is the correct way, and how dare you if you say something different.
Yeah, yeah.
No, but
It,
a lot of the so-called Hispanidad talkers, they're not talking about like being real Hispanos. I mean, they're talking about Hispanidad with this notion and reminiscing about a time that they didn't live in, which was when the Spanish Empire was a thing, and a part of them actually believe that we're gonna go back to it. That Spain is gonna become a superpower again. That it's gonna become an empire again. They don't
Uh,
wanna
you
admit.
know what? Okay, you know what? It's more of a likelihood that I'll become Pope.
Yeah. No,
So
it's not.
get so
It's
so
not
get
gonna happen.
ready. So get ready for for the time when I be declared Pope Jose.
Uh-huh.
oh my
No, no,
god.
but it's kind of like it's reminiscing about a time that we're not gonna go back to, because Spain
No,
right now, Spain economically, Spain, to my understanding, is not doing that great. I don't know what excuse they will have, since they extracted so much wealth from the Americas. Unless we're talking about that they extracted the wealth, but it went most of it to the Vatican. That will be like the only explanation for that. They don't have an excuse. They got a lot of wealth out of the Americas, and uh, and they're also part of the European Union, part of NATO. The other European countries are not going to allow Spain to become to become an empire again.
no,
It's just not going to happen. They're
no,
not gonna allow it.
no. I mean, countries like Germany, France, and the UK are
Yeah,
not going to allow Spain to become what they were 500 years ago.
yeah. Yeah, because they share imperialism at one time when it comes to Spain, Portugal, um, France, the English, they all share pieces of empire around the world, whether it was in the Americas, whether it was in the African continent. Spain didn't have that much of a presence in the African continent, but to this day, France and England are still leeching off the African continent. So economically, they're still somewhat operating as empires. They're still operating as imperial powers. Uh, but Spain is not functioning like that anymore. Not really. So it's not. They don't have kind of like a foundation. That foundation is gone. They're not gonna make a comeback, so to speak. So they need to let go of that fantasy.
Yeah,
But you know what?
but they won't. But they won't.
But you know what's the problem, Ramon?
Yeah.
It makes too much sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And if you take a look of the British,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there was a saying that the sun never set on the British Empire. I mean, what they were able to do was divide and conquer. So when you have these individuals that attack people when they're trying to bring truth, they're just becoming pawns of racists. And I see it, with certain individuals, which I'm not going to name, but I think we all know who we're talking about. How we get into all this rhetoric regarding how certain certain portions of our community are only the true Latinos because of our skin color and what have you. And it's just a sad case of divide and conquer, and they don't realize this.
Yeah.
Well, this somebody that are hell bent in thinking like that, they're just dividing themselves out of a community. I mean, there is nothing that we can do. It's just best for us that are more like-minded to be able to remain on the same page and not
agree with that. Yeah.
remaining on the same page and not letting detractors or people that disagree kind of like take away from the energy, take away take away from being
the purpose from the purpose
from the purpose. We don't want to allow that to happen. And if these certain somebodies want to keep fantasizing about an empire that is not going to come back, let them. But don't try to convince them. Let's not try to change their mind.
No.
They're gonna believe what they're gonna believe. It's a waste of time trying to.
No, they're sat there and dying of therapy, but then again, you have to admit that you have a problem.
Yeah. And that will not happen. That's why I don't entertain that here on my channel, because it's like I said, we have a limited time to actually get stuff done for our people. And we can't afford this. In other times, if we were doing better and people's lives were not at stake, yeah, why not? Let's just entertain the BS and, hear them talk about, their romance with Spain and whatnot. But this is not the time. If they want to be who they want to be, they want to be the circus, let them be the circus. Like I said,
Mm-hmm.
It's something that really I paid no mind to that.
Yeah, I mean, I will be one of those that if I had any power, this is gonna trigger somebody. Somebody's gonna hear this and they're gonna get triggered. If it were for me, I will take down the statue, the Columbus statue, that big ass one that is relatively recent, that they wasted. I don't know how many millions they wasted
$10 million.
on that.
You know what's crazy, Ramon?
Yeah.
Don't you find weird that in Puerto Rico, where the Spain reunification movement only got 17 people, they did they did a reunification movement that only got 17 attendees.
Wow,
And
shocker.
yeah, and you know what's crazy?
Uh-huh.
What's insane is like why the biggest statue of Columbus is in Puerto Rico. Don't you find that weird?
No, but
Where
I don't
people
know
care
who
the
was.
least, we care the least about Spain, and
Uh-huh.
somehow we have the biggest statue in Puerto Rico.
I just don't see the point in erecting another statue of an Italian. Uh, there is already a monument. There are already a couple of smaller monuments, older monuments. I mean, I guess that could be fine. I will still take them down because I wouldn't want to glorify a colonizer. Yes, that's what he was. Whatever the romanticizers want to call him, that was a colonizer. And that big statue was a waste of money. When I learned of that, when I learned about that, I was really offended because I knew that a lot of money was gonna be wasted on that, and I don't know whose vanity project was that they were trying to compete with other monuments that are in other parts of the Latin American countries, because I'm sure there are many of them. Apparently, there were whoever had the idea to put up that monument. They were trying to compete. I don't know what was the point of it,
Me
but
neither.
yeah. Romanticizing the memory of a colonizer. I
But
mean,
you know,
Yeah.
but you know some.
Look at what Moise Picard said. Christopher Columbus was and will always be a creep.
But you know
yeah,
what's the whole crazy? But you know what the whole crazy thing? The whole purpose was to discover a route to the East Indies. Okay,
yeah,
I
that's what it
mean,
was about. The trouble.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
No, that's what the traveling was about.
I mean, that's the whole thing. It's
Was
just that
trying to get to the Spice Island. I think it was where the
yeah. I mean, and what happened was they got sidetracked, and they ended up first in the Dominican Republic, then in Puerto Rico, then other parts of Central and South America, and then the Spanish discovered in Mexico and other places there was gold. Okay,
yeah,
so they were only trying to enrich themselves
yeah,
at the cost of others, which brings me to a crazy point, which is people calling death on the United States, but
mm,
yet they're sucking at the teeth of the U.S., prospering under the U.S., but yet they're calling for the death of the United States. If you really feel that the United States is an evil empire, why are you profiting by being part of that state and then leave and don't leave?
Well, the same people that are going on and on, possibly talking about Spain this, Spain that, are the same ones that wouldn't move there. They wouldn't move there because they know that they wouldn't be received, they wouldn't be seen as the same as a Spaniard. I mean, it doesn't matter that they will be speaking Spanish, even if they were speaking Spanish themselves, they were not gonna be seen as a Spaniard. The immigration, they have an immigration authority, and I remember seeing a program about that when Hispanics or Latinos, as you would rather call it, I know, when they show up in Spain, they start scrutinizing their identity and they start listening to how they talk, to trying to place their accents. I mean, and because they're not us, we're not really wanted over there like that. I mean, I'm not gonna be, I'm not gonna be using, I'm not gonna use certain terms to call what they're doing, but to my understanding, nothing against them. I don't hate them or anything like that. But we're not really wanted over there like that. I mean, we are more on our own, and we should be kind of like united on our ethnic group, united amongst our ethnic group, and kind of like live this empire dreams. Kind of, we should have those of us that believe in those, that they really need to leave that behind, because that's not gonna get anywhere, and it's only those aspirations, those imperialistic aspirations, are only adding to any divisions that could be going on amongst us. We don't need that. That's not gonna get us anywhere. It's not
Yeah,
gonna solve anything. Yeah.
yeah, definitely. Now, guys, I'm gonna get the last thoughts on Jose and Ramon, and then I'll share mine to close this up. So, Jose, final thoughts.
Well, once again, I thank you for being extremely gracious, allowing me to participate in this stream and to be perfect. And the fact of the matter is, I'm getting a real solid education from you.
Mhm.
And the fact of the matter is, um, it's amazing what's going on in Puerto Rico and how sad it is going over there, and how many people, they don't know what's going on, and how many people cannot accept the truth. But the Bible talks about that my people perish for lack of knowledge, and we're perishing because we don't have this knowledge, and we cannot accept this knowledge, because it's easier to live accept an illusion or a lie to accept truth. But the fact of the matter is, we have to admit there's a problem to come up to a solution. And I just want to, do not let the naysayers get you down. Keep up with the good fight, because you are performing a great public service. And to those that that in the chat, I always going to say the same thing again. Please be careful out there, because there's some people that are mentally ill that want to do us harm.
Definitely. Thank you, Jose, for also always join with your wisdom and your good vibes. I always tell you. And like I said, yeah, I try to do my part and bring in the information, and also off camera do my part by putting my words into action as well. And I wish to motivate others to do the same thing. If we all do a small part, the less a few individuals have to do alone. And that's how communities are supposed to function. So
Mhm.
definitely, yeah, that's what started this channel. I started spreading what I'm doing, what I think, my visions, and a lot of people that think the same way are coming together and also sharing what they think and what they know. And we're slowly but surely forming a group of like-minded individuals that want to put in the work to actually get this stuff more balanced and get us in the road to success and prosperity. I'm sorry. So thank you, Jose. Now
Okay.
I'll
Please be
see you
safe,
on my
everybody.
next show. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Now, Ramon, your final thoughts.
And really quickly, free Eliezer Molina. His imprisonment is mostly politically motivated. Nobody will tell me different. Yes, I mean, like a stepping foot in a construction site or whatever. There could be an argument for whether that is some kind of misdemeanor or a or a major charge or a major crime. But this is mostly politically motivated. I'm not gonna be told different. I mean, it's like we mentioned before. He's being made an example. This is political mostly, and there's gonna have to be a major demonstrations. We have recent example that it can help. It can work. Let's just look back 2 years ago. Look, 2 years ago, it grabbed the attention probably of the world. I mean, a lot of people around the world had their eyes on what was going on in Puerto Rico at that time. And uh, it's gonna be, I guess it's gonna have to be time for another demonstration. And
Yeah.
free Eliezer. Yeah.
Okay, definitely. Thank you, Ramon. And I will remove you now, but thank you for your words. I agree with you 100%. I believe that Eliezer Molina should not be made an example of, because it's like I said, what he did, what he's guilty of, is just defending our patrimony. And now, guys, before I leave you, please like and subscribe. Also, hit that bell for notification. Follow me on Instagram. Like I said, I post a lot of stuff there that sometimes we cannot post here on YouTube because of copyright infringements, but I post more information over there. But like I said, this is a man, Pedro Pierluisi is a man that is the reason why many Puerto Ricans today don't have enough. Many of us are in debt. Many of us have had to leave, because he saw an opportunity to make his own gain, um, you know, and made that a priority instead of actually make something happen. So, like I said, let's just learn how to study these people, see their resume. It's like when you're hiring a person for your own company, you will look at their resume and see what they have done, where they have been, and their work history is what majorly determines if they'll be hired or not. The same thing has to be done with politicians. They have a resume. Let's start looking it up and stop voting for people that actually put us in harm's way, or actually set our communities behind. So before I leave you guys, be aware that, we're still in the middle of a pandemic. So, be safe, keep your social distance, and also, yeah, that's right. We're going to be on the road. Be on the lookout for that. If you're in the California area, you might come across Latin splaining on the road. And also, no bullshit is coming later this summer. I partner up with my friend all aboard to bring you more relaxed topics on different things that are happening either in pop culture, or who knows, celebrities, society in general. So be on the lookout for that. Without any further ado, I want to thank you guys for joining me on this impromptu uh, show regarding who is Pedro Pierluisi. Now, in Monday, we're going to have our regular shows. So I hope to see you guys there. Remember, we are live Mondays and Thursdays at 4 p.m. Pacific time, 7 p.m. Eastern time. So without any further ado, thank you all that tune in, and those watching the replay. Thank you very much for the support. We have hit 100 subscribers. Now we're on the road for 200. So make sure you spread the word. You tell your friends, your family, everybody to come here to Latin Splaining to get your news on Latin America and our Latin diasporas. Thank you very much. My name is Denise Gonzalez, and this has been another episode of Latin Splaining.